Hi, Annalisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to give you the 2023 March horoscope for the sign of Capricorn, Sun and Rising placements. Hello, Capricorn. You have been going through some stuff. I say that just thinking of the handful of Capricorn people in my life, but it shows up in the chart in a really extreme way. So it just makes me laugh. I'm not laughing at your misfortune. I'm laughing at how accurate astrology is. So we're just going to get right into it. Today is March 4th. I am behind on getting all the horoscopes done because I've been having some health stuff and it's just made me have to take more breaks and do everything slower. I'll usually try to get them all done in 2 days, if not one day, which is terrible. I really should be doing it more incrementally, but it's just how I am. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And then if I have any body stuff going on, like any flare-ups in my body, it's a just bad idea. So I've been taking a page out of the pacing book and just breaking them up over a few days. And I think I'll have them all done today. I think I'm going to do it. All right. So we started out March pretty strong, pretty hot and heavy. We start out every March in Pisces season, and we had Mercury in the last couple degrees of Aquarius up until yesterday. Mercury just entered Pisces. Where this is hitting the area for the Capricorn chart, we're going to have Mercury in Pisces during Pisces season. Mercury is going to be in Pisces till the 19th with the sun in Pisces, and then the sun moves into Aries the next day, and Mercury moves into Aries on the 19th. So while Mercury and the sun are in Pisces, the area that's highlighted for you, Capricorn, is the area of communication, your perceptions. Also, this house in traditional astrology rules neighbors. So if your kind of community, your neighbors, that kind of stuff is highlighted, communicating with your neighbors, communicating with the people that you kind of live on the same block with, that's highlighted in this way. There's some other things that can happen with sometimes this area highlighted that are a little scary. I'm not gonna do any doom and gloom. We're just gonna keep this as light as possible. But the communication house, the perception house that Mercury rules is in its, detriment right now. It's not, or I'm sorry, not detriment. Yes, detriment. It's in its detriment, like fall or detriment. I always get those two mixed up, but it's in its detriment. And so, Mercury doesn't see things clearly when it's in Pisces. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo and sees things more practically, pragmatically, structurally. There's more of like this kind of clear problem solving, analytical mind. And Pisces is not like that. Pisces is dreamy and imaginatory, and it thinks outside of what's possible. It's a very limitless, anything is possible imagination type energy, right? Which is great for creativity. So if you're an artist or you have artistic projects, or even if you're a creative writer, your energy around that is going to get boosted this month, which is awesome. That's such a great thing. However, Mercury in Pisces is not a great time for seeing things as they are. And so you're more easy to deceive. You're more easily gullible, or maybe it's easier to pull the wool. What do they say? The wool over the eyes or whatever. I'm sure Capricorn people right now, you're all probably really annoyed with how Piscean I communicate. I have a lot of Pisces in this area of my chart. So yeah, it's more whimsical. It's more out there. So you have to be mindful, you have to read between the lines, read all of the fine print. Don't take somebody's word for it, get a second opinion. And so if you're in a position where you're reading contracts, or you're signing anything, or you're about to sign up for something, make sure you're just, kind of doing your due diligence in that way. Also, if you're making new friends or you're dating, things like that, this isn't the area necessarily that rules dating or romantic partnerships, but it does rule communication. And so if you're online dating, or you're, meeting new people, you're more likely to be deceived through what somebody's trying to sell you as themselves. Not saying that that's what everyone's trying to do, but there are people out there, we've seen enough of those catfish shows and con documentaries, and Neptune, the ruler of Pisces outside of Jupiter, the Piscean illusionist, can kind of pull a fast one on you if you're not careful. So it's just a good, discernment is important. The other thing that's happening in Pisces in that same area of the chart for you is Saturn on March 7th, which is the same day that we have a Virgo full moon, is going to be moving into Pisces for the first time since 1993, 1994, and it's going to be there till 2025. So we've had Saturn in Aquarius since 2020, and now it's moving into Pisces, and it's going to be in that area of the Capricorn horoscope that represents communication. So again, you're probably going to be learning new ways to be discerning around things that seemed different than what they ended up being. And that's what happens with Saturn and Pisces, or Saturn in general. Saturn rules discernment, but Pisces does not. Pisces is not discerning at all. And so the two together, it's kind of like, how do we cut through the illusion of something and get to what's real? But also that is subjective, right? I always, as a Sag Pisces dominant person, am like, reality is subjective, because what's real here doesn't necessarily mean it's real out there somewhere else. You know, there's so many other types of ideas of reality that we can perceive here. So it must exist somewhere, right? And so even though that's true per se, and we can get really philosophical and, you know, woo-woo about it. And, you know, I always get made of and told I have a stoner brain, even though I'm not a stoner. I just think that way, you know, but, you know, some people have to do psychedelics to get to that point, and I've done psychedelics and I don't need them to get to that point. So it's one of those things where it's like, as fun as it is to travel out there, we are here. If we're in this physical body, you know, Capricorn, Saturn, you know, we're still here operating within the laws of this reality. And so, yes, our minds can go wherever, but, you know, at the end of the day, we have natural laws, and then we have the systematic laws that, you know, we abide by as a society, or, you know, maybe we don't abide by them, but, you know, they're there. And so with Saturn and Pisces, and in this area of perception and communication for Capricorn, you know, you might be challenged. You know, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn's your ruler. That's why I'm talking about it so much, because it's your planet in this area that's not Capricornian. It's the total opposite of Capricorn. And Saturn's been in domicile the last 5 years. It's been in Capricorn, and then it was in Aquarius. It rules both those signs, and now it's entering an area that is not, you know, it's vibe, you know. But a lot of good creative things come out of Saturn and Pisces. A lot of really cool music and art and technological stuff has happened. So, you know, it's really good for the visionary. It's good for the visionary to take this idea and figure out how to make it real. But for you, Capricorn, it's going to be difficult if you're a Capricorn that lacks a lot of water energy, or even if you lack water and fire energy, because Capricorn is one of the most realist, practical, pragmatic signs. It's like, yes, sure, we can hypothesize or imagine or visualize, but until I see it actually factually working, there's a spider in here that's been walking back and forth on my carpet that I saw walk off, and I was like, cool, go away. And now it's back. So I'm just trying to keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't bite me. Spiders, though, are great animal totems. In dreams, they often represent our connection to the cosmic, because the cosmic is ruled by the number 8, and spiders have 8 legs and 8 eyes. Which I don't think all of them have 8 eyes, but the 8 number is tied to spiders and the cosmic. And I'm an 8, so there we go. I have a good relationship with spiders. I'm trying to see if I know. I don't think I know what kind of spider that is. But anyways, that could be a totem for you, Capricorn, since it came up during this video. But yeah, so I think that if Capricorn can't see something in actuality, the other thing too, I feel like that's common with a lot of Capricorns, is you really want some authority. You know, Saturn represents authority. You want some authority to tell you what is real, right? So if somebody with authority, you know, whether it's in a government or a science structure or a religion or whatever, comes in and says, this is fact, this is true, and has some way to show that it's true, Capricorn is the first person to take that truth and die on that hill. This is the truth. This is the way that it's always been done. You know, 1 + 1 = 2, and we're just gonna die on that hill. And Pisces and Sagittarius and some of these other mutable energies are less like that. They're a little bit more like, sure, yes, that is true. That is fact. Yes, that works. However, there's a whole other spectrum of things outside of that that also work and that are also true and that are also legitimate over here. And sometimes it can be really hard for the Capricorn brain that's linear, that decided what their track was, to go, oh, wow, I see it out here now, because it's so much more comforting to stick to what you know, or to stick to what has always worked or what has always been done. And so when we have Saturn in Capricorn, it's solidifying that, it's solidifying those structures. When we have Saturn in Aquarius, it's building upon that, it's improving it, it's also revolutionizing it. So it might be like, yes, this worked for 100 years, it doesn't work anymore, so we need to move on. Saturn in Pisces is, let's not even think of the rules. Let's not even look at the old playbook. Let's not even consider the old playbook. Let's think so outside of that we envision an entirely new reality. And let's figure out what it takes to make that possible. And so that's scary. It's scary for people to leave the unknown. COVID was scary. COVID's not totally unknown to humanity, though, in the sense that humanity has gone through pandemic after pandemic after pandemic, right? And what did we lean on during that? We have science. We have technology now, after all of this history of what we've done in the past, to do it differently this time, but also to apply what we have learned. And of course, that's an ever-going journey. So a lot of people died on the hill of what they decided was supposed to be the answer of what worked at the times that those things were getting introduced by the CDC, right? But look at the evolution that happened with the pandemic as we got more information, right? We had this big quarantine time. We had no vaccines. Then we had vaccines. Then we had complications with the vaccines. Then we had masks. Then we had no masks. Then we had these types of, quarantine days. Then it went to this day. And now the reality of COVID and all the strains, I remember when the CDC was like, we failed as a world to eradicate this. And so your options are basically to wear a mask, get vaccinated, and just hope that if you get it, you're not one of the people that dies from it, So I think that it's interesting when we watch those evolutions take place through humanity, where, especially like we look at the AIDS epidemic, it started out one way, and now we've made so much progress in terms of HIV, education and knowledge and medications and prevention and, all that kind of stuff, but we didn't get rid of it, right? We just learned how to adapt to it. And then, the scientists came in and built better drugs to help people with it, right? And which is great. Like, that's awesome. So it's kind of the same idea of like, if we get stuck in the old way of always doing things in a very Saturnian Capricorn way, we miss out on all the other ways that something could be approached or done, even if we don't necessarily have data or science to back it up yet. Because how do we get data and science? We ask the question, we hypothesize, we theorize, and then we start doing the testing or the data. And so a lot of Capricorn dominant people will just want to lean on what's already there. We already know this. We already know the facts. It's the Sag or the Virgo or the Gemini or the Pisces, the mutable energy, that comes in and says, why though? Or what else can we do? Or how can we make this better? Aquarius too. Aquarius is always like, how do we do this better? And so it's positive for you, Capricorn, to recognize when you're holding on to maybe something that was your truth or worked in the past. Saturn can also have a tie to our past that isn't working anymore. Life is not fixed. Life continues to move forward. Capricorn likes moving forward, but can still sometimes be a little rigid in ideas. And so this Saturn and Pisces cycle over the next 2 years can be really beneficial for you in opening and expanding what's possible for you, which can lead to good things, right? And it's not saying to take out your wisdom. Capricorn is a very wise sign because it values the old historical knowledge, which is important. There's a lot of young people nowadays that are speaking all kinds of crazy rhetoric as if they know what they're talking about, and they have no context for how we got to where we are now. So that history and that past that Saturn has ties to is incredibly important for knowing what we need to do moving forward. So it's not saying that there isn't value to that, because there totally is. But there's also that if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. So Capricorn has a lot to offer in that way. And it brings Piscean mutable energy back down to earth, being like, cool, it's really fun to hypothesize and think about all that stuff, but we still got to do what's happening right now. We still got to do what just works right now. And so that's also really beneficial for you in terms of being Capricorn during this season. The Piscean people going through this are probably going to lean a lot on that Saturn energy, and you as Capricorn are it's going to be hard, to have your planet in this sign, but it's also going to help in those ways. So that's how I would think about that cycle for you on an individual level. The big thing that started out March that I've basically started with every sign except for you for some reason is that we have 5 celestial bodies in the sign of Aries right now. So we have Venus, Jupiter, Chiron, all conjunct in Jupiter. They made their conjunction on the 2nd. And then we have 2 asteroids, Vesta and Juno, also in Aries. And the area that this is hitting for Capricorn is the area of the Capricorn chart that has to do with your home. So if you are planning on moving, this is actually very much elevated right now. It's very much like, oh, you want to move? Cool. Let's move things forward. Let's push things forward in this way. I'm going to take a break for just a second. I had to step away for a second, so I lost my train of thought, but I think I was just talking about the Aries stellium and how it's impacting the area of the chart that has to do with your home and whether or not you are doing home improvements or you want to leave, you want to, find somewhere better to live, buy a house, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of energy around that. So that's going to be a big theme for the month of March for the Capricorn dominant person is your home. Are you making improvements to it? Do you need to find somewhere else to live? All that kind of stuff. So Aries energy impacting that brings a lot of driving it forward. The other thing about Aries with Capricorn is those energies make what's called a square to each other. And so it's a hard energy. It's challenging. Unfortunately, there's a lot of challenges when Aries and Capricorn are making a square to each other. There's tension, but through challenge, through tension, birth and manifestation and things can kind of come out of that. It's that pressure makes diamonds kind of thing. So if you are in a challenging situation, knowing that the pressure and the trials and tribulations of the challenge are going to propel you somewhere that you're probably meant to be versus where you've been. It's kind of that thing too of like Capricorn wanting to hold on to the old, and the world sometimes has different plans for us. So outside of the Aries energy that we have going on, we also have Mars finishing up its last bit in Gemini. It's been in Gemini since August, and then it's going to move into Cancer, and it's going to move into Cancer on the 25th and be there until May 21st. And so we have a good kind of 2 months pretty much of Mars in Cancer, and Mars actually does better in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in your sign of Capricorn, and it's in its fall in Cancer. And so this might be a difficult time for you in terms of your relationships, because the area that Mars is going to be hitting the chart during that last part of March and through all of April and the first half of May is the area that rules partnership. And so Mars, comes in, it brings action, determination, willpower, but it also can bring conflict. And in the sign of Cancer, it can make us feel things in a very personal way, in a very deep way. And it can trigger our emotions around inner child kind of wounds or healing things that we need to work through. And the people that can be triggering it are partners. So you might be in a position where there's some conflict in a partnership, whether it's your significant other, people you're dating, best friend, or coworker, business partner, if you have one. That's something that could possibly happen. I guess less coworker, but more of like a business partnership dynamic. So there could be some conflict, some emotional conflict that has to be worked through. And then again, having so much emphasis with Saturn in Pisces in that house of communication, you might have to think outside of your, the potential for you to be more linear focused on your feelings. You might have to think about how this is affecting the bigger picture. And so, that's something every Capricorn's different. Like if you're a Capricorn dominant person that has a lot of mutable energy or certain placements in areas of the chart that have to do with other people, you might naturally be very empathic and aware of people's feelings. But if you're more on the side that's more personally focused and more introverted and less empathic and more dry, sometimes it's hard to see outside of your own thoughts or your own perception. And so that might be something that you're working on in your relationships, your close relationships with people over that last part of March. Venus is also going to leave Aries and enter Taurus on the 17th. And then 2 days later, Mars is going to enter Aries. So Mars is going to be in the Aries party with Jupiter and Chiron. And then we're going to have Juno and Venus leaving and entering Taurus. And Taurus is a great energy for Capricorn. It's fixed Earth. Earth likes Earth. Earth and Capricorn, Taurus and Capricorn make a trine to each other. And so this will be a welcomed energy after we had such an ungrounding start to the month. It's ungrounded, but it's also action oriented. So sometimes that feels nice if we've been feeling a little slow and a little stagnant, but it can also feel like things are moving too fast for us to get a handle on what's going on. And so Venus entering Taurus should be a pretty welcomed, grounded energy to kind of bring everything back down to earth and in a positive way. Venus is a very positive, romantic, lovey-dovey energy. And where this is hitting for the Capricorn horoscope is the area around creative expression and also self-love and self romantic kind of feelings with our partners and things like that too. So this is also a really good time to work on creative projects, express yourself creatively, and also self-validation and, you know, kind of filling your own cup with things that make you feel grounded and happy and healthy. Let's see, it's also a very fertile placement for that area. So especially if you're actually a Capricorn rising, it's Venus through this area, especially in Taurus, is a signature of fertility. So if you're trying to get pregnant and you're Capricorn rising, it might be cool to see your own birth chart, you know, outside of your horoscope, but this could be a really good time for conception if you're a Capricorn rising. Cap Sun, it's different. Let's look and see. So let's go ahead and just talk about the last part of the month. So we're going to have, you know, Aries, Mercury entering Aries on the 19th. And then the spring equinox is the 20th. So that's when the sun enters Aries. And then right after that, we have a new moon in Aries at 0 degrees conjunct a 5-degree Mercury. And so again, the area of the chart where that's hitting is the area that represents your home. And so the new moon is a really good time to set intentions around your home and what you hope to manifest for the remainder of the month or the year, since we are starting the new astrological year. And so if there's certain things that you want to accomplish in your home, this is a really great time to set those intentions and also get the plans. You know, Mercury kind of being, you know, focused on plans and the way to get something done in a analytical way. That's a positive thing for you to do on the 21st or around the 21st and kind of channeling that new moon energy. Also, outside of Mars moving into Cancer, which we already talked about, Pluto is going to be entering Aquarius, and the area that this is going to be impacting the horoscope for Capricorn over the next 21 years is going to be the house that represents your money. So your finances come up for, you know, review over the next 20 years and probably building more financial security and stability and having to learn a lot about that. Pluto is the planet that represents death and rebirth. And so wherever it is, we're going through some pretty intense lessons and having to transcend those in order to gain wisdom and personal empowerment within that. You know, it's better to look at where these outer planet transits are happening in your birth chart versus your horoscope chart. We don't really focus too much on outer planets and horoscopes, but because it's such big transitional energy happening cosmically, it's just, it is going to be there in the horoscope and playing some kind of role. But again, like, you want to look at your personal birth chart and see where you have, you know, Pisces and Aquarius, because that's, you know, really where Saturn and Pluto are going to be impacting you for the next year. So this is more relevant for the Cap rising people at the early degrees of Capricorn. Let's talk about the full moon. So going closer to where we are today, in 3 days from today, we have our full moon in Virgo on March 7th. And again, Earth moon energy is so positive right now because of the fact we don't have a lot of energy anchoring us or grounding us right now. And so these Earth moons that are coming up are kind of helping us anchor some of that in and apply it in a practical or linear way, more pragmatic way. And the Virgo full moon is hitting the area of your chart that has to do with your belief systems, spiritual, even, you know, culturally, you know, that kind of stuff, also your education. So, you know, this is a good time to be open-minded to seeing how things can be done differently. And the full moon can be a good time where this is hitting to kind of set intentions towards where you're open to growth and expansion in your life, especially around your own personal philosophies about life or belief systems about life. If you don't really have a spiritual practice, this is a good energy to kind of look into what that means to you and what it would look like to have one. And I think I want to, like, especially for Capricorn people that I think have, you know, Capricorn kind of does one of two things. It leans really far into dogma or dogmatic structures, or it leans really far into science, as if science was not dogmatic, which science is. Science is its own dogma, and we create dogmas in all different fields of various things, right? And like I said, Capricorn really likes to find something that it can believe in and hold on to and kind of have that hill to die on about it. And this is just the Capricorn archetype. I'm not saying that just because you're a Capricorn, you're like this, but just like Capricorn as its own archetype wants to kind of, you know, adhere to some kind of structure. And that can be great. That can be really good, you know, to do, but life doesn't work that way. Things don't stay fixed. Things don't stay the same. And if they did, if life was, you know, for all of us fixed, and if we could just say 1 + 1 = 2 about literally everything, wouldn't it be so much easier to be alive? Like if really just taking our vitamins and working out for however many hours a day just meant that we were going to have longevity forever, wouldn't we all be doing it? You know, obviously everybody's different. So the way that things process for people is different. And so one of the things that's helpful for Capricorn is to reflect on, you know, your belief systems and whether or not those belief systems are, you know, you clinging on to something because it worked in the past, or whether or not you really need to be open to seeing some things some different ways and moving forward. And this Virgo full moon, for where it's hitting in the Capricorn chart, is probably helping you have some of those awarenesses, you know, about yourself, of like, oh, maybe I'm interested in exploring something that in the past never would have interested me. You know, maybe I'm interested in being open-minded towards what this does over here, whereas in the past I might have been a lot more rigid about how I thought about that. And so Mercury is the ruler of this moon, you know, because it's a moon in Virgo. It's in the house that is ruled by Jupiter, and you know, Mercury is in Pisces during this full moon, which is influencing the house of communication for you. So that's a big theme. Your perceptions around this full moon time and your belief systems are a big thing for March. And you know, it's always good for us to review our inner narrative and whether or not it's still working for us as we move forward. I feel like this lipstick, the longer it's on me, just keeps, like, it was not as in this corner as it is now. I don't even know why. Somebody tell me to stop trying to wear lipstick as I get older. It just doesn't work. Or recommend a better lipstick. I'm wearing the Kat Von D that's supposed to be like the matte that just stays on, and it just feels like it's not staying on. And I only buy vegan beauty products, so I need a better stain. It's supposed to be the stain lipstick. All right, Capricorn, I think I talked enough about you, and I hope that you find some fun things to do around your house or your home that invigorate you and inspire you, because this is a great time for that. And I will see you next month.